positive good afternoon. College participants to one and all. I'd like to thank the organizers for giving me the opportunity to be a presenter at this conference. I have been involved as a member of a credit union since about 1980, and I'm currently the president of the Chatham Agricultural Empowerment and Development Cooperative Society. So I am a cooperator and I've had a cooperative experience. Now, the team Cooperatives, a Vehicle for Economic Transformation. If we looking at cooperatives as a vehicle for economic transformation, we must have some fundamental understanding about cooperatives. Alright? Sad to say, there are people on credit union boards. If you ask them to define what is a cooperative, shockingly, you may not get a proper understanding and definition. Alright? So if we have to use this as a vehicle, we must first understand what it is all about. According to the International Alliance of Cooperatives, a cooperative is an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social, and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled enterprise. It says a lot, but to simplify it, if you have common interests and you pool your resources around that, what you are unable to do individually, through the pool, you will be able to benefit. And that is the crux of the matter. However, there are cooperative principles that will make a cooperative different from another type of business. Alright? The whole idea of pooling and sharing lends itself to a socialist approach. The other types of businesses focus on what? The maximization of profit. So there are some fundamental differences between a typical business and a cooperative. Alright? In a typical business, the few benefit. In a cooperative, many benefit. There is competition. In the typical type of business, there is cooperation. Alright? There's a question of fostering that social bonding through cooperatives. That is not really the intention through that capitalist approach. So what are some of these principles? So if you were to consider this as a vehicle, some of these principles here are important to be familiar with. Voluntary and open membership. So whether you're a farmer, whether you're a pusher, I'm putting that in quotes, because, you know, if you apply and you satisfy the criteria and that passes them as an issue, you may become a member. But the point I'm making, if you're a lawyer, if you're a doctor, if you're a farmer, if you're a domestic worker, regardless of your social status, economic status, you can become a member of a credit union or another type of cooperative, and you can also serve in any one of the respective committees. The next principle is the question of democratic control. In a cooperative, unlike another type of business, you have the opportunity not just to be a member, but to be an owner. Alright? So if you have the opportunity to be an owner, it is important that you understand clearly how cooperatives operate. Because when you look at any structure of a cooperative, who is at the top? Who is at the top? The member. So the member is the most critical ingredient in terms of the cooperative approach. It's through the member, the other committees are elected, you have a board, they will, appoint the management structure, etc. So the member has a very important role in terms of that democratic control. Economic participation, based on how you invest in the cooperative, you're buying the shares, if it's a consumer co-op, the business that you do, you will get returns in terms of dividends, rebates, etc. So that economic participation is very important as a principle. the question of autonomy and independence. We must be able to determine what a cooperative does on our terms and in keeping with the Cooperative Act and your bylaws. Remember that you cannot act outside in terms of the business activity that you undertake outside of the cooperative law, which we know is inadequate, and your bylaws in terms of the kind of activities you can engage in. So in terms of transformation, certainly we need to revisit and we need to act in greater haste. So a few days ago, I heard a contribution from Dr. Marcel, where she very vociferously made the point that if it is 14 years and you can't finalize a legislation to govern your operations, that's a total lack of seriousness, and I want to agree with that. I'm also aware that people of the diaspora, another point that she made, who have tremendous remittances that they can pass through the credit union. If you do not have a local address, that money is refused. And I mean, any kind of business activity, cooperative or not, you can't afford to lose that opportunity in terms of building the share capital of your organization. So I just wanted to reference that. The question of education and training. A cooperative, specifically a credit union, it's a financial organization. So, regardless whether you were trained in finance or not, you must be financially literate. And again, from experience, there are many persons whose main interest in being on a credit union board is when the next CCU conference will happen, or what is the value of the honorarium that they will get at the end of the year. When they attend conferences, they are on holiday. No interest in learning. The credit union operations are not improving, and they are having a good time. So these are the kind of members we need to get rid of, and we need to get persons who are truly interested in learning, whether they're trained in finance or not. Because if you cannot make financial decisions about how your credit union should operate or your cooperative should operate, it's only a matter of time before you will have to buy the coffin. The other principle is the question of cooperation among cooperatives. For example, the cooperative that I am part of as the president, which was recently formed in 2017, registered in 2018, an important opportunity exists for financial cooperatives to support such ventures. Alright? Because when we talk about a vehicle of economic transformation, what do we mean? Many persons who are members of credit unions can attest that through credit unions, they have been able to achieve some level of economic transformation. Some of you are landless, and through the credit union, you were able to do what? Buy a piece of land. You were able to source a loan. You were homeless, and you were able to do what? Buy a house. Your child had to go to study in the US, and you was able to access a loan to facilitate. Alright? So in that simple way, it facilitated economic transformation. However, we can go and expand on that in terms of the potential of the movement. So, is economic transformation possible? I'll just give a small example. Alright? When you look back in history, now when we talk about the cooperative movement, they normally trace back the history to Rochdale in England. But long before Rochdale in England existed, in ancient Egypt, in Kush and Kem, they were using the principle of Susunomics, which Richard Barton spoke about in his book, Susunomics. They were pooling resources for any kind of issue, not only financial. So if somebody had to build a house, they pool the existing resources in the community to facilitate. Any kind of issue or problem was dealt with through the pooling of such resources. Monuments were built, etc. And then we have, in contemporary times, one of the most telling examples of how a cooperative can transform societies economically in terms of the Mondragon Corporation in Spain. Spain for the last 10-15 years has been experiencing severe economic pressures. And in the midst of that, the Mondragon Corporation has been rated as the world's largest worker cooperative with global sales of £13 billion and a workforce of 84,000 persons. It's a collection of 100 smaller cooperatives. It is also rated as the 10th largest company in Spain, but mind you, the operation of those organizations is based on cooperative principles, and they have been so effective that they have been rated to that extent. So the potential and the possibility of cooperatives, looking at this example, which has become a kind of standard model to examine. Of course, in the Caribbean context, we need to make sure that it is relevant to our circumstances. We need to make sure that we do the necessary research in terms of what we intend to do. In some of the key words in this presentation, I mentioned things like cooperative. I kind of give you a brief idea of what is a cooperative. Cooperative entrepreneurship. Now, in Trinidad and Tobago, the movement boasts about having about 15 billion in financial assets, other assets. In small Grenada, they have about $1 billion in assets. And over 60% of the population are cooperative members. All right? So, in terms of economic transformation, we need to set agendas. We need to determine, we need to have conversations as to what will be the model and how this economic transformation will proceed. But we could examine one jargon, do our research so that, for example, will you just decide to start a fishing cooperative just like that? Will you? What is the first step? Research. Alright? Because there are a lot of factors that you have to look at. When a boat goes out, sometimes between $500 and $1,000 in gas on a trip. They have to go out deeper waters, longer distances to catch fish. So you need to determine the level of demand, the prices, the ability of the people to pay, and you need to do that kind of background check, apply your cooperative principles, and make a decision as to whether that is the way to go. So forming cooperatives, all well and good, but we must ensure that it's a business, the business of the cooperative has a fair chance of success. Right, so just to reiterate some of those kind of attributes that will be important. Besides research, technologically driven. Technologically driven. Wow. I have to run. Alright? So, technologically driven. I read an article a few days ago where a company described itself as a financial organization, as a technological organization specializing in finance. Alright? So, to what extent can technology further the economic agenda of credit unions? 2 years ago, I attended a CCU conference in Cuba, and a young man under 30 years made a very beautiful presentation when he said that the millennials constitute a base to grow credit union memberships. When you look at the average age of credit union boards, over 50. Alright? And some of them, from my observation, careful observation, they are prepared to die in office. They will not leave until they die. Alright? Now, through technology, through using the millennials, they will be interested in attending an AGM, but not physically in the digital world. So, he made a very important point. Could credit unions consider having AGMs online? Could credit unions consider, of course, the legislative agenda, etc., will guide what we do, facilitated payments without having to come to the office. So, this is how the millennials operate. And if you disregard that, you are losing an opportunity to strengthen the growth of credit unions and cooperative in every manner, economic and otherwise. How much time? 2 minutes? Alright, so I need to skip because of the time considerations. Right, so the goal of cooperatives and credit unions is to improve the socio-economic status of its members. New ideas, greater collectivism, driven by research findings, financial prudence, and social mobilization. If credit unions utilize a plus in terms of the social focus, when you make people feel well, they are always encouraged to invest and spend. So the service that we provide could provide the impetus for attracting others in terms of the quality of service and the human kindness and care and concern in terms of helping. Of course, at the same time, maintaining financial prudence in what you do. It is not a parlor, it is not your money, it is the members' money. Alright? The members who are the owners must determine its direction. I mentioned that. A broader set of developmental objectives must be implemented to ensure the sustainable and collective well-being of the organization. Cooperatives must resist the urge to transform into organizations that have little to do with cooperative principles, hence the reason I mentioned them. It is therefore very important that we set an agenda. So let me go faster than here. This agenda, in a broad framework, should include the convening of stakeholder meetings with all respected parties to determine the nature of the economic transformation and how it shall proceed. However, before you do that, your research council should be established that will provide data that will guide you in terms of that direction. And in so doing, it will unearth what is required for economic transformation. These findings must not just be a document, it must be shared with people like the League, the individual credit unions. Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies has a very critical role to play in terms of transforming the understanding and minds in terms of what cooperatives can achieve, in terms of extending more to the public, where they can appreciate that the cooperative model is an option for economic transformation. So we need to get together, we need to be committed, we need to be focused, we need to be patient, we need to have the right skill set, alright? And we need to have that determination to ensure that it fulfills its potential. Potential means nothing if you don't have results to show at the end of the time. So let us make the best use of fostering that potential that exists in credit unions, in cooperatives. It's a sleeping potential. We need to bring it alive. We need to get the stakeholders committed. We need to get them working. And as this conference hopes to achieve, they need to set up a working agenda as to the way forward. And I hope that my few ideas can contribute or will contribute in some way to making this possible. Thank you for listening, and do enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you very much.
If it's not only likely, everyone can say it.